Secure the microphone. All right. Now, so shift forward. And whoever gets close to this, if you will move the camera around where it gets me best. You're probably close enough, Eric, okay? But the ones that are sitting on the back row and next to back row, I'm questioning. But you can move if you want, Eric, okay? I'm basically going to work. So, as long as it's getting me in. Tools over here. All right. So we're going to go through and learn how to do straight through, crossover, and rollover cables. Okay. Straight through cable is the one you're going to use most often. That's what comes in all of your packages. So that's what's laying right there. That should be what that yellow one that's nicely wrapped there is. And if we were to look at the ends as Eric is doing, we can tell if it is or not. It's straight through. But more than likely, when it's a prepackaged looking cable, it's a straight through cable. Okay? Although it could be something else. All right? So straight through, technically the straight through is used from either layer 0 to layer 1 devices or layer 1 to layer 2 devices. Or layer, did I say 0? Layer 1 to layer 2 and layer 2 to layer 3. I'm going, why am I not to layer 3? Okay. So if we went from router to switch, it's a straight through. If we go from PC, which is layer 1, more or less, okay? So it's down there, that's where it would be physically connected. PC to switch, it would be a straight through. Does everybody follow on that? So if you're going to odd to even, or even to odd, you're going to do a straight through. And I didn't learn that until just a year or two ago. But I realized that one, nobody ever said about that it's even odd layers, okay? So you can, once y'all get through here, y'all can still learn more stuff. The crossover cable is used to connect similar devices or devices that are on the same type of layer. So odd layer devices, even layer devices use a crossover cable. The reason is they've built it in on your equipment so that you've switched the receive and the send ends on those different layers. Y'all follow on that? So, however, as y'all learned in the last module, the last thing in it, if I remember right, they mentioned about the AMDIX ports on them, where there's intelligent ports on the switches and the routers. In which case, when you have one of those ports on one of the devices, you can use whichever one of those two cables you want to use. Okay? The third cable won't work, but the two I just mentioned, you could grab either one of them and it worked fine. Because it sits there, listens and sees which two wires is the signal coming in on. And so it figures out which way to do it. So it's intelligent. Okay? Third one is the rollover cable, which y'all have used. You used it in your first assignment to connect your PC to the switch. Remember the light blue cable that looked like this that you used on there? And actually was light blue and packet tracer, just like this one is, which is what Cisco sends. This is actually a rollover cable with an adapter built on the end, so you can connect a serial port on the PC to the console port on the router or the switch. Okay? Now, in Packet Tracer, they just had you do that they had this cable is what actually was in there for you, because remember, you did plug to the serial port to the RJ45 port on the switch. So this is what you were using, okay? In actuality, what you're doing is you're going to build a rollover cable, which just reverses the wires on one end to the other. There was one up here somewhere. And then you'd use the rollover cable with this adapter here that just goes from RJ45 to the serial port, which is what is occurring in that plug right there. So that's effectively been built into the wire. Does everybody follow on that? This one happens to be a ribbon cable, which it could be, but here's the thing, you're going to normally want to use this type cable, not ribbon, for making your cables, because this one's subject to more interference, etc. But this is just a short cable that you're always going to be right there plugged into the device, so you're not worried about interference. Okay? So that's the rollover cable. That's the only purpose for the rollover cable, is to plug to the console port on the Cisco router and the Cisco switch. And as far as I know, it doesn't work on any other of these devices. Okay? But remember I said, as far as I know. And I really haven't played with a lot of other high-end company devices. So, but my understanding. Now, when you make the cables, let me run through the tools real quick that we're going to use. Doesn't make any difference which order I put them up in. First one is a stripper. And all it's going to do is remove the outer sheath off of our cable. So it's just going to notch that sheath. Okay. Besides this one, there should be some other. Yeah, there. There's these two, but I'm not real impressed with these. Just be aware of one thing on both of them. This one's pretty well covered on it. This one is too, but it is a razor blade in there. If you look at this one, you can distinctly see it is a razor blade sitting there. So if you run your finger in there across the little piece of metal, you will cut yourself. Okay? So don't do that. It does have 3 blades on it. One of them is stuck up, which is the one we're really using. One of them we've got pushed down. And that, the second one there, is so that we could do it on coax cable, because you do cut to 2 layers on that one to cut through the outer sheath and cut down to that wire that ran through the middle of coax. So this is made to work with coax also, put coax connections on there. The third blade on here on the end is just a spare blade. Okay? So that's all that one's there for. This one, you'll just slide it in there somewhere and then do it on it. I generally have more luck with this one, and there's a second one floating around somewhere. My guess is it's sitting in my office over in Catoosa, and we're not in Catoosa. Unless y'all find one of them waiting somewhere. Wire cutters, when y'all cut this wire off here of the thick cable, of the whole cable, use these. Okay? Now, when y'all go to cut the little wires, which will be the last piece we do, these won't work because they're not sharp and aligned close enough, and all they'll do is effectively bend wires instead of cutting them. Okay? That's just a standard pair of wire cutters that most of you have seen at home or somewhere around that people just have and cut wires with. So nothing fancy on that. This amazingly will cost you about $10. Okay? Is about where the price runs on a pair of strippers. And stripper is the correct name of it because we're stripping the sheath off the cable. When I tell 7th graders about it, they all start giggling, as y'all can guess. Next one is a crimper. These run $35 to $50 a piece. We're going to put the plug cable in there, and what it's going to do is it's going to crimp the part of the plug down into, because there's little pieces of metal that go into the little wires, and push them up to there and jam that in. And that's what this device is going to do. I've got 2 of these up here. This is the school's one. There's a couple more of these sitting around the room. Just one warning with these, if you pick up another one of them, do you see? I know there's one piece of plastic. There's one. See it? This one is I'll show you. If you use this one I've already safety bound. This one's like it came to us. There is a razor blade right there, because the crimpers generally are designed where you can do everything with them, but it doesn't do real well as an everything tool. So I wouldn't normally use them as an everything tool, but you could. Okay, you could also, when cutting the sheath off, just take a knife and wrap around there, but you just want to make sure you don't cut the wires. Okay, there is a raised razor blade there right above my finger. Does everybody follow on that one? Be careful you don't catch your finger on that. There's nothing blocking me slicing my finger right now. Okay, and after we got these crimpers, the first few times we used them, I had students come up to me and going, "Where's a Band-Aid?" And I'm going, "Why are y'all cutting your hands?" I've never had a problem in 15 years, almost 20 years doing this, of people cutting their fingers. And then I realized how that blade is. So on this pair, I have removed the blade on it. This one, I will, if I get a chance. I gotta find a screwdriver, take it off there. So they should have put a shield around it, but they didn't. So just be aware of that if you do use that one. This is another pair of crimpers. This one only crimps, and it's a pistol style one. So you use that. This is my personal pair. I've got another older pair that's worn out like those. This one got given to me by Panduit and Cisco some number of years ago for answering a questionnaire or something for them. Or when I was at a conference, I don't remember what it was, but I ended up getting it from them, and it's a rather neat one. So we got that one available for you to use. And I really don't know price on it because, again, y'all heard the price that I paid for it. Okay. The last one is a pair of scissors. And these you're going to use to cut the little wires with. Don't use them to cut the whole wire, the whole cable, or you will knock them out of alignment and then they won't do the little wires good. These are extremely expensive, so be real careful with them. They cost $1. They come from Dollar Tree. Okay. Hope y'all like the joke on that one. But that, if I go buy the scissors from them, they last about 6 months for me. The ones from Dollar Tree, with y'all doing this with them. These are actually a little bit more expensive ones that they were bought from somewhere. So these actually cost us some more. But the more expensive ones I have found a lot of times don't last much longer than these. I can get about 6 months out of these. Or we can go spend $5 or $10 or something on a pair of these scissors from a more expensive place. And I can run by Dollar Tree and spend another $1 for 6 months. Okay. Actually, this was a better pair and it's held up a little longer. So that's the tools you're going to use. But again, use these just to cut the little wires, not to cut the cable. Use the wire cutters to cut them. Questions on the tools? Okay. Now, let's get the cable. So we'll take a piece of cable. I would go ahead and cut yourself some piece somewhere around 3 feet long or something. But if you have a need for a piece of straight through cable at home or something that you know you need 50 feet for it for some reason, and some of us do. I've got one that runs from my living room where my cable connection is back to the back of my study, and I've got a real long piece of cable that runs across there. But if you know you need a longer one, you can make it for your one in here. Okay, so everybody follow on that? This stuff costs, we buy it in boxes of 1,000 feet, and the price, when we looked at it last week, I think it was like $90 for 1,000 feet. So we're looking at about 9 cents a foot. Okay. You can buy the cable at electronic stores or whatever, but the cheapest place to go get it is get it at Home Depot or Lowe's, because they sell it there. Okay, and you can get it bulk or you can get a distance of it. If you buy it in bulk, that's what we're doing. That's the price. If you buy it for just a certain distance of it, they'll charge you a little bit more than that. So I buy it in 1,000-foot boxes every couple of years for me. And the school's got boxes too. So we'll take that, take this, but let's say, give yourself, when you make this initial one, at least give yourself about 3 feet or so. Because if you make any mistakes, you're going to start getting shorter. And I have had students finish up with the one they gave to me. And if you're not sure about this, ask Mr. Spurlock how short his cable was he made for me, one of them. They end up with a wire that's this long by the time they had to remake and remake. Okay? And he will tell you that he did end up with a short one on one of the wires. So cut it. There is a pull string in there, which this isn't going to cut. It will break if you just pull on this little string. Y'all can cut that string out of the way, whatever on it. It doesn't make any difference. It's just a reinforcement and for you pulling it through. Then we're going to take the pair of strippers and I would suggest coming back about 2 inches or so, about that long. Okay. You're going to be making the wires about that long, but you want to have enough wire that you can really easily work with. Although I've had students do them exactly at the length. Okay. I'm not sure about that. I like a little bit more, but if you want to do it that way, you can. Just lay it in there. It's a positive feed item. Okay. You don't want to squeeze it shut. All you want to do is notch this plastic. Everybody follow on that? And if you've ever cut glass, it's the same way as when you cut glass. If you cut glass, you don't actually cut the glass. You just notch the glass and break it on that line. I do stained glass, so I learned that one from there. Okay? But if you were to go watch the people that install glass in windows and doors and stuff, that's all they do is they just notch the glass. They don't cut the glass, and they break it on that line. That's the same thing we want to do here. Spin it around 3 or 4 times, and if I've got the blade set correctly, which begins looking questionable, but it is there, it should cut a notch on it. There, it did that time. And then if you bend it, it'll break on that notch. This wire's got the sheath real close to the wires. And then just pull that off, and when we finish today, definitely get the sheaths all in the trash can. If the little wires fall on the floor or whatever, don't worry too much about them, okay? Vacuum cleaner will pick them up. But the sheaths, we really need them in the trash can. They don't do well on vacuum cleaners. So then, like I mentioned, there is a string there. If the string gets in your way, which usually it does for me, just cut it off. Or you can leave it there. It doesn't make any difference. Then there's 4 pairs of wires in here. On 5 out of the 6 ends, the color range I'm going to do right now is what we'll use. And I'll write it up on the board when I get through the demo. Okay? And I would go ahead and separate the wires out in a color direction. Orange is going to come on the left in 5 out of 6 ends. Brown is going to come on the right. Okay? The green and the blue are going to get mixed, so whatever you leave them sitting here for the moment doesn't make any difference. Now, on the one other end, we're going to switch to green and the orange pairs. And as far as the colors, I'll have them on the board when we do the final also. So you'll start getting the colors learned as you do it multiple times, but don't panic on that one. So then I'm going to take the wires apart. This cable must be just Cat 5, not Cat 5E, because it's not got much twist to it. It is 5.
It says
5E. Huh?
It says 5E on the box.
It says 5E on the cable too. But it's not got much twist to the wires, which is good for y'all. So I will twist them out. We're going to end up with a white color combination across there. Okay, so I'm going to start off, turn it around, white, orange, orange, and finish up with white, brown, brown. Does everybody follow that? Now, these two are going to be intermixed. So it's still going to be white, solid, but it's not going to be a white, blue, blue. Okay? That's what we're going to do now is I'm going to do the green next. And the order you do these in, that's up to you. Okay? It's what you end up with at the end is the question. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and take the greens apart, and then I'm going to take the blue apart. And the blue one's the one that's going to drive you crazy normally. Because it's inside the green pair right here, and it just doesn't ever like to cooperate anyway. So you should end up with a combination that looks like that, so that where I refer to as a peacock and some of the things you may have looked at that I've got out there. Okay? So I've got white, orange, orange, white, green, blue, white, blue, green, white, brown, brown. Are you following that? So it is white, solid all the way across. It's just the blue and the green pair are not right beside each other. So everybody follow on that part? Now, this is doing our RGA. We're doing B on whatever the name of the standard is.
568B.
568B. Good, thank you. I thought somebody will bail me out here. So we're going to do B is the way we're going to do for the predominant. You could do A as predominant. A is the other end we're going to make, which is on the crossover. So then I will take these. I'm going to lay it where it just comes off the end of my finger. And then I'm going to put my thumb on and secure it right there where it comes off. Not way on up, but right there at the edge. Does everybody follow that? So I've got a hold of the little wires, but I don't have eaten up space up on them, which is going to come in critical in just a moment. So I'm going to get a hold of them, and that'll keep them from jumping because I'm holding them right where they come out of the sheath. And then I'm going to move them together, and then I'm going to start pulling. And this was the part that amazed me when I learned how to do this. Because when I walked in and was in y'all's shoes up to this point, I was going, how in the world am I going to get these wires from those 8 little pairs into that flat little sheath? Okay? Pull hard. And we're going back and forth a little bit. And lo and behold, you should get a sheath, a flat cable. So everybody see on that? It should still be in the same order that I just told it to be in. It's still white, solid, right? Yeah. Okay? If they jumped around, you gotta jump them back around. So you may have to loosen up. I will hold onto this tight for the time I grabbed it a moment ago, unless I have to do that. And keep my hand on it tight. Okay? Now I will take one of the plugs that Eric is holding right there. And our object is to get the sheath pushed up into the plug. Okay? You don't want exposed little wires. And I will show y'all next week an example of a bad wire, some really bad wire. That was a place that hired me to straighten out their wiring. They didn't hire me to straighten out their wiring, they hired me to straighten out their networking or programming, wherever the problem was. Because I knew programming and networking, they called me in after the programmer, and all these networking people they had hired all swapping down it was the other one's fault. And I came in, looked at the wire, and realized they had a problem on their wire. Interference was killing them. So I will take this plug. I am going to lay it up here beside my finger. I know underneath my finger where the sheath comes to. And there's an approximation on this. You got this much of a space in there. And if y'all end up with just a small amount of wires exposed for in here, that's okay. I don't want a large amount of wire exposed, but if you end up with a little bit, that's okay. It won't be certifiable, but y'all are learning on this. And even when you do the final, that's still okay. I'll let those by. And in most places that would work. Just you don't want a lot of wire exposed. So I will lay it here beside it. And on this plug, if you look, there's a flattened area, a sunken area on the flat side of the plug. One side of the plug has a little piece on it, The other side is flat, which I'm going to call the flat side of the plug. Okay. And then it also has, all of a sudden, where it narrows down, you can't get the sheath beyond where it narrows down. We want to get the sheath a little way in here, and the little notched in area actually squeezes in against the sheath that's in there to help keep it from being pulled. So I'm going to lay it here beside my finger and figure out where does it come to about of estimating where it comes in here. So this is not scientific, this is an art, okay? And when you look at your white cables usually, and these are not marked quite as well as some, that usually you'll see one of the colors start or one of the colors end on a white cable about where you want it cut off at, because we want to cut it off at where the end of this will be. Okay. You can also get plugs, and I think it's Charter, but I'm not sure. Uses plugs where you slide all the little wires through it, cut them off at the end. You can also get plugs that you lay all the wires down in there and you lay down the cover on top of it. So I'll just mention that to you. So now I'm going to take a pair of scissors, now that I know about where it is, and I'm going to make a cut across of about where that spot is. A straight cut, not angled. And so now I've got a short piece of wire and got a pair of scissors stuck on my finger. Now I'm going to slide this on flat side up. The other side's the tab side, so you'll see me say tab side or flat side, but remember, we're going to put them always on flat side up, except in one case. You got to watch where you sit when I'm standing here with stuff to throw. So now I'm going to just start sliding in. When it gets caught on my finger, I'm going to let go because it's starting to narrow, and I'm going to keep on pushing. I did that one perfect. So now, if y'all look and see, you can see the sheath is up in there. It really couldn't have been cut much shorter. I almost cut it too short. And you can see the wires all go to the end of the plug. And they all got to go to the end of the plug, because on the back side you see a little piece of metal. If you run your finger across there at this point, the metal all sticks up. Okay? Everybody follow that part? Now, at this point, nothing is holding this plug on here. So if I go and pull on the plug, it's going to come right back off, and my wires are going to all jump around, and I got to put it all back together again. Okay? Now I'm going to take my crimper, and it will go in from one side, because one side usually shows the tab side bigger on it, and so it fits one direction only. Don't try to jam it in the other side, and you can do that on these, but if you'll look, there's a tab more showing on that side than that side. You want to go on the side of the tab, because it's only going to want to push up on the end. It's not pushing up all the way across it. So I will put this in. And generally, your best bet is keep pushing on the wire as you've got it held in there, because it will fall out. And then just squeeze and squeeze it tight. This one doesn't seem to have a whole lot of extra squeeze. Yeah, it does. Squeeze it really tight to really pump it up in there. Now, take the plug. Just the plug, not the wire. Pull. I've pulled him towards me, right? So it's not coming off. Y'all see that? If you discover now you made a mistake, there's only one thing you can do, and that is take a pair of bar cutters, cut the end off, and start all over again. And you will do that at some point, more than likely. Almost everybody keeps them up, and even someone with as much experience doing them as I have done them, once in a while, you get it all put together there, and then you discover a wire jumped as I pushed it in or something else. But it really is simple looking in there to see that they're white solid, white solid, white solid across there. And before you crimp it, after you push it in, you may want to look at it and go, does it look white solid, white solid, white solid? Now, there's possibility they did really jump around, but that reduces the chances on it, okay? So a lot of times I will glance at them before I do the crimp. To see if they did. Now then, that's how you're going to do the ends. So let me break this on the board here. couple of things for you. For B, it is white, orange, orange, white, green, blue, white, blue, green, white, brown, brown. Okay, y'all got that one? When I say it's up there. For A, it's white, green, green, white, orange, blue, white, blue, orange, white, brown, brown. Okay? Straight through. You're going to do a B and a B. Crossover. You're going to do a B and an A. Doesn't make any difference which end you do which on. I've had students ask me that before. If you're convinced it's got to go simply one way, turn the cable over. Rollover, you're going to do B and B, but that one's going to be tab side up instead of flat side up. Or you can sit there and work on backwards if you want to do it. So this is working left to right. Y'all follow on that? And it's always flat side up except for in this one case right there. And that's the easiest thing to do, is still do it exactly the same way. It's just when you put the plug on that one end, put it on upside down. And guess what? You just reverse the wires. And you don't have to know them backwards. I know instructors that make the students learn them backwards for that. There's no reason to. Okay? And don't ask me what they are backwards. I could figure it out over time, but we don't have that much time. Okay? Any questions on that? Y'all follow on that? Now, the last piece, once you make it, one of these works. Not that one. That one goes. Okay. Cable tester. Once you make both ends on it, you're then going to test it. These testers will do both the RJ45, which is what we're using in here for the Ethernet cables. It will also do the RJ11 for telephone plugs. So there are small plugs on them. The other one is on the bottom here. Okay. So you could test telephone cable on this also, which is only got 6 wires instead of 8 wires. These, the ones we're using in here, cost $5 a piece, if I remember right, at Micro Center. Okay. Some of them, like this one, is in English. That one's in English also. We've got some that are in Chinese, but looks like we only got one working one also. I think it's in transistor radio. Okay. 9-volt batteries. So they're running on 9-volt batteries. So we've only got, looks like, one in here that works, unless there's some more that y'all see laying around somewhere in the room. So I'm going to plug it in on both ends. This is removable here so that we can go test it down the hall. That Tyler could take the one end, run down the hall, test the wire out of the wall, and I stay in here at the other end, plug into the other end of the wire, and then nowadays using our cell phone, talk back and forth to each other. In the old days, yell up and down the hall at each other or have a walkie-talkie or something to do it with, okay? So it is removable on purpose, that when y'all see it removes. There are a lot more expensive cable testers and that test differently a little bit, but these I found down there for $5 a piece, and they work quite well. Then there's 2 positions on the on these. There's a fast and a slow. So right now I'm in the, looks like the fast. No, I was in the slow. So now it's in fast. Well, that's the first position. If you get in that one, you may go, whoa, I can't see what in the world it's telling me. Now, if you've seen them a good while, yeah, you'd see what it is. There is a slow position beyond it, which is marked by an S. So this says off on S. And now it goes a little bit slower. This is a straight through cable. So the wires should all match up going down. So I should have 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3. If I have a crossover cable, it should be 1 and 3, 2 and 6, 3 and 1, 4 and 4, 5 and 5, 6 and 2, 7 and 7, 8 and 8. Y'all follow on that? Rollover cable on almost all of these ones will not work. I don't know why, but it doesn't. So if nothing happens and it's a rollover cable, it's actually correct. If you don't do the rollover cable correctly, it will work. Okay? Then I'll give you some freaky light show. The crossover will give you, as I put it, a Christmas tree effect on it because you are bouncing lights back and forth some. Okay? Is everybody following that? So when you go to do this, ask me on it and I'll help you. Ask me on the rest of it and I'll help you. Okay? So now start in. We'll get as much done as we can today because we can run over time a little bit. But by 11:30, I've got to be hitting the road. Okay? To go teach this again. So that will be that one. It does have a ground down here also. We're not using the ground. So that light shouldn't light up. So just ignore on that one. Okay? Sometimes you don't get it plugged in well, so you got to plug it, push it in better or whatever. The other one is sometimes if a light doesn't light, take the crimpers again and recrimper in. Sometimes the wire didn't make full contact with it. And then if it's beyond that, we'll look at the first thing I'm going to do is pick it up, look at the very end and see, do all your wires go all the way to the end? Most of the time, that's our next problem. Is they didn't get all the way to the end, or you cut an angle cut, so part of them got up there and part of them didn't. Questions? Y'all all got that part? All right. Then go ahead and start in. We've got this set of tools, so y'all are going to have to share tools as y'all work up here. And then let's try to turn this off each time between people so we extend the battery. So go ahead and cut away. I'm going to stop the recording. We don't need to be recording anything else in here. If I'm going to do one thing first, do that. Oh, there it is. It wasn't there. And now they got to look at the ceiling. So now I'll stop the recording.